The senior member of the Justice Committee will call the Justice Committee to order on February 6, 2024. We have members Schaefer, Abraham, Roseman Mendoza, and Metzger, so we do have a quorum. We have a consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Motion by Abraham, second by Metzger. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Chair will vote. Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. Moving on to, we don't have any members. Do we have any members of the public? I'm sorry.
We've had no requests this evening, Madam Chair.
I'm trying to have a 7-minute meeting like I did with Health Committee. Moving on to departmental matters, Matt Lane, McLean County Sheriff is up first. You have an item for action. 4A1A is request approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the State of Illinois, Illinois Emergency Management Agency, and the Office of Homeland and Security and County of McLean. Do I have a motion? Motion by Abraham, second by Roseman Mendoza.
This grant takes care of most of our EMA. The money, all this money goes towards salary, everything from salary utilities for EMA. And it's a big part of their budget is this money. So it's an ongoing.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we're voting on an intergovernmental agreement between the state, IEMA, Homeland Security, and the county. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's approved. Moving on, we have your information, monthly statistical report. Anything that you'd like to say about that?
The only thing I would add is I do have 15 waiting for DHS right now. The longest outpatient wait has been since July 11th. The longest inpatient wait's been August 8th. I have a full booking area at this point of people that are seriously mentally ill that we may have to address soon. With there's some movements I can make, and there might be some staffing issues. If we can get everybody hired we need to hire right now, there may be a few more that I might need. Okay. So that's all I had, though.
Any questions for the sheriff? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Moving on, we have Kathy Yoder, McLean County Coroner. And you have no items for action, but you have your monthly report.
Yes, I have nothing to report. If you have any questions, feel free. Thank you.
Any questions for the coroner? Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Have a great night.
Next is Ron Lewis, Public Defender, and he has 3 action items. 4A-C1A is a request approval of a software license agreement with Justice Text Incorporated. Motion by Abraham, second by Metzger.
This is an item that we had back in 2021. We had 2 licenses with software to help us tackle all the video and audio digital evidence that we are getting in. It helps us triage that. I've worked with the company Justice Text now we'd like 3 licenses instead of the 2 that we've had, and getting our office tuned into that, and it's a valuable tool, and that's why we're presenting that here.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. 4C1B is request approval of a contract between David W. Butler, Special Public Defender, and the Public Defender's Office. Motion by Metzger, second by Abraham.
Yes, we recently renewed our contract attorneys at the end of last year. One of the contract attorneys was actually from the Peoria area. He does cases in several counties, and he was spread pretty thin and wanted to give up his McLean County contract, and luckily had some interest from retired Judge David Butler, who was a litigator in his own right before he was a judge and had one of these contracts before, and he was interested, and we were able to put him in place with approval here.
Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none, we're going to vote on the contract with David Butler and the Public Defender's Office. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next item is 4C1C, request approval of a proposal for architectural services with Design Mavens Architecture. Motion by Abraham, second by Roseman Mendoza.
This is an interesting item in that we've never really had this situation before where the state of Illinois has provided extra money for public defenders. Some of you may have seen things in the news. Counties across the state have received money for public defender situations, things that are needed. Our county here, we received $113,229.93. And with a lot of help, I'm very grateful to Tony Grant and Joe Gaither and Scott Fogler and Will Scanlon and for assisting me in coming up with a plan on how to use this money. Our office, we are tight in space. If we were fully staffed, I wouldn't have enough room to put everybody. So we've kind of inquired in the past. It's never really come to fruition, usually because of money. But now that we have some money that we can put towards, rearranging our office and obtaining some more space, some more offices to put people, that's what we've accomplished here. And it's taken a lot of moving parts that are outside my office, and I'm grateful to the other people who've helped me out with this, and that's why we have this proposal with things to come and spending this money on construction, on studs and walls and paint and so forth.
Thank you. Any questions? So is this part of the space study, or is it helping the space study or anything like that?
This is completely separate from the space study.
All right, hearing no other questions, we'll be voting on the proposal for architectural services. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And we're back to you for your report.
This is our standard report. I like when February rolls around because it tells us a little bit about our year end from 2023. And my office has handled over 3,000 court files, court cases this past year. That's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you. Next is Will Scanlon, has no items. After that is Suzanne Montoya, Court Services Director.
Just the standard monthly report, but I am happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Erica Reynolds, State's Attorney. You do not have any action items.
I do not.
Do you have
But I-
anything you want to say about your reports?
No, but I did want to give you an update as far as staffing goes. We've seen a little bit of movement based on the numbers that we're utilizing now for salaries. We have a individual out of the state of Kentucky who is a 3L law student who has accepted a job with us. He will take the bar in July and start with us in August. And then if he passes, become totally licensed in November. We have another offer that's pending out there. We're currently 3 full-time down. There's a 4th vacancy, but right now I have 2 part-timers filling that vacancy. So just an update.
Do things seem to be stabilizing a little bit more across counties with,
No.
no?
Uh-uh.
Okay,
In fact, I just got an email from an out-of-county asking for our starting salaries for attorneys. So.
Okay, thank you. And any other questions? Okay, thank you.
I do have a question. Do you send those to HR and let them handle them as opposed to you having to deal with that?
I haven't actually ever gotten that request before. I've had very surface level conversations with other essays around the state, but those are all in person. And so I literally just got the email though.
It's entirely up to you. I think if you want to take that off your plate, I think HR would probably take it off your hands if I'm not mistaken. So up to you, but I just thought if you get those a lot, it's a lot of effort on your part to have to deal with, so.
Yeah, and this is the first one that I've gotten that's been as direct as that. And normally it's a conversation during the State's Attorneys Association conference or in, random conversations with essays around the state.
In situations like this, some requests are sent through our FOIA system and some are directed directly to HR and they are capable of answering questions.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we have Don Everhart, Circuit Clerk. You have no items for action, but you have your reports.
I have no comment on that, but I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Hearing none.
All right,
Thank you. Next is Molly Evans, Children Advocacy Center. She has 5 items for action. 4H1A is request approval of grant agreement between the State of Illinois, Illinois Criminal Justice Authority, and McLean County Casa Voca. And a motion by Abraham, second by Metzger.
This is a new grant. Well, I don't want to say it's a continuation, but we've received this grant in the past. However, it was a competitive rewrite this year for our CASA program. This is our biggest grant. And we were a little concerned about it, but we got it, and we were one of 12 programs throughout the state that received funding this year. Unfortunately, VOCA funds through all programs have seen a significant cut, so we did receive a 30% cut. The max grant award was $135,000. We wrote for exactly that, and we got that. So we got the max, but we still took a pretty significant cut that I'm trying to figure out how to make up right now. So we're happy to get this. This grant is typically a 3-year grant cycle. They won't tell us that up front. They'll say it's year to year, but what we've found in the past is that that we will run for about 3 years on this.
Questions? Okay, let's vote on the approval of the grant agreement between ICEJA and CASA, McLean County Casa Voca. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. 4H1B is request approval of cooperative agreement between the 2024 award recipient and National Children's Alliance. Motion by Abraham, second by Roseman Mendoza.
This is another grant through the National Children's Alliance. This was, again, they do competitive grants every year. We wrote 2, received 1. This is an equipment grant, so this is, I want to say, around $11,000, a little over $11,000. And with this, we're going to be able to purchase all new laptops and monitors, docking stations for a majority of the CAC staff.
Questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that is approved. H1C is request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending McLean County fiscal year 2024 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance for Fund 129. And a motion by Metzger, a second by Abraham.
This was just in order to get a couple of these grants in. We had not included them when we did the 2024 budget. It was also, we received $5,000 from the Child Protection Network, which is a 501c3 fundraising board that was created to assist the Children's Advocacy Center and CASA. We received that late in the year. I mentioned this in the memo. We received it in like mid-December, and there was no way that we could expend that. So it went into 2023 revenue, so now moving it to 2024 so that we can purchase the supplies that we need through that.
Any questions? And we'll be voting on the budget amendment. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. 4H1D is a contract for services between DeWitt County Community Mental Health Board and Children's Advocacy Center. Motion by Abraham, second by Metzger.
Again, another yearly grant that we've received for several years through the DeWitt County Mental Health Board. This covers our rent, utilities, supplies, and some professional development for our satellite office located in Clinton.
Questions? All those in favor of the contract between DeWitt County Mental Health Board and Children's Advocacy Center? Aye. Any opposed? All right, 4H1E is request approval of a grant agreement between Illinois Prairie Community Foundation, Youth Engaged in Philanthropy Program, and McLean County Children's Advocacy Center. A motion by Abraham, second by Metzger.
This is a small grant. We write several grants to Illinois Prairie throughout the year. This involves the YEP program, which consists of high school students, local high school students here. It's a really great program. They go through and they grade our grants. They decide who the money is going to go to. And with these funds, we're going to be able to put on our third annual Child Safety Matters, a Day at the Zoo event that happens in April for Child Abuse Prevention Month. This just allows children and families to come enjoy the day at the zoo, and we are able to do 300 free admissions and then other fun activities. We get lots of other service providers and organizations in the community there. So it's kind of like a prevention fair while families are able to enjoy the zoo. So this grant will cover that day.
Any other questions? We will be voting, and on the grant agreement between Illinois Prairie Foundation and McLean County Children's Advocacy Center. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that is approved. So we've now completed all of your action items, and you have your monthly report.
Monthly report, same as what you had mentioned. I don't want to say it's nice to see. It's never nice to see at the end of the year when it involves child abuse and neglect. But our numbers were up this year. And, we've really made a push with a lot of the agencies that we work with schools, just on, we know the type of services we can provide when kids are brought to the center. So I think that outreach is helping in some ways to where we're able just to connect with more kids and more families, so.
Any other questions for Ms. Evans? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And would you turn that microphone off too, please? Thank you. Next up, we have Cassie Taylor, County Administrator, and you have an item for action.
I do. Thank you, Madam Chairman. So the action item I present to you this evening is a request for approval of a services agreement between Project Oz and McLean County as part of the opioid prevention program.
I have a motion. Motion by Metzger, second by Abraham.
May I?
You may.
So this document that we bring before you is really a great example of the collaboration that happens in McLean County, because the department that helped us receive the opioid prevention funds was the state's attorney, and that is why it's presented here in the Justice Committee, because it's included in the state's attorney's budget as a special program. However, when we received those funds, there was a collaborative group of departments within McLean County that got together to decide the best uses for the funds that hit many of the target areas that were recommended within the program funding requirements, including prevention. And so we turned to our partners at the Health Department, and we have two representatives here today that were very instrumental in making this happen. Amy and Tammy are both here, should you have further questions about Project Oz and the service they would provide, but they helped put together this collaboration with Project Oz so that we could provide community level opioid prevention programs to youth in McLean County. And that's what this is for.
Questions? Member Abraham.
Is there any reason for the variation in schools? We have like Normal Community West, Normal Community Bloomington. We see Leroy, Olympia, Lexington, Ridgeview, and Tri-Valley in the last one and program 3, but we don't see those schools in program 1 or 2. I don't know if there's been like a needs analysis done and those schools don't have issues with cannabis or nicotine, but
Amy, you can come up to the table and.
Come up to the table.
And use one of the microphones, please.
So we'll ask Amy Hopper to respond to that.
So to answer that, yes, there are those issues in the other schools. However, Project Oz, through a lot of their other programs, has very established relationships with almost all of the schools, grade schools through high schools in McLean County. And so our hope is that this program will be extended beyond this calendar year into like 3 or 4 years. And so some of those schools could adjust. So this year is kind of a pilot, if you will, to see how it goes. So through some of their other programming, like the drug prevention programming that all students get through all McLean County schools at a certain grade, they're able to see if there are some schools that are more at high risk or have more suspensions. It also depends on the school's willingness to have programs like this. So that's why those schools were chosen. So there wasn't like an official needs assessment completed.
gotcha, thank you.
Chair Metzger.
I was wondering what the evaluation process for and success to evaluate the success. So how is that going to go? Because it's only if it's only a year program, it's a rather challenge. So you've already answered some of that.
Yeah.
You think it's going to be further, but can you tell me that
Sure.
evaluation process?
Sure. So from our opioid collaborative meeting, Cassie, we talked about this at least being like a 3-year program because this year is just going to take time getting a person hired, established, et cetera. However, all of these programs are evidence-based or best practice. And so like they may have a pre and post test to see if the child is learning something or the student is learning something. But in the work statement, there's a section on objectives and outcomes, and those have not been created yet. So I need to work with Project Oz this year. So hopefully this first, the second quarter to create those outcomes. And so then those outcomes will be, the goal of those outcomes will be to measure the success of the program. So for example, the alternative to school suspensions for the first 2 programs, those are an intervention. And so one of the outcomes could easily be, are those students that participate in this moving forward, did they change that behavior by not being in a situation where they may get suspended?
I have a couple questions. Are they going to use the Illinois Youth Survey on any of that to evaluate any of this, the outcomes on this? Because you know that they can say, improve this, substance use by this much, because I know that's only every 2 years. And so I think it's this year that this coming year they'll be doing that. And so will that help us evaluate the program?
Yes, so Project Oz is very familiar with the Illinois Youth Survey. So they use that data in almost all of their youth prevention and intervention programming. And so even back to your question, like that's another way they can kind of help see which schools are reporting higher cannabis, nicotine use, et cetera. So they will use that. So when I have discussions with Project Oz as far as the outcomes that need to be written, because some of the programs may already have outcomes suggested as part of the being evidence-based, but talking to them about that aligning with the Illinois Youth Survey from a problem need versus can we see over long-term there's some type of movement in that area? So we can have that as part of that conversation, but I know they know that survey and it like very well.
And I have a question for Ms. Taylor. Is this isn't all the opioid money for this year? And because I know that the city and the town got some also from this, so is this only part of a collaboration or is there more?
This is not all of the county's opioid funds. There are other projects that you'll potentially be seeing coming forward in 2024. The city and the town also have funding that's under their own purview, but they have been part of discussions with our group so that we're not competing or duplicating efforts.
Thank you, that's what I wanted to hear. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, if not, we will vote on the request for the approval of the services agreements between Project Oz and McLean County for the opioid prevention program. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that's approved.
Special thanks to Tammy and Amy for coming to a meeting that is not their typical meeting. Next up, I have an item to present for information, and I'd like to call forward Adam Carney from Metcom. So as a reminder to this group, our Metcom 911 services have their own board, the Metcom board. However, McLean County is a part of that partnership. And you'll remember that in last fall, Rhonda and Adam came to committee to share that they were moving forward with the development of a new CAD system for Metcom and had partnered with Mission Critical Partners to be the consultant for that development. And so Adam has some news. We have some movement and a company chosen for our CAD system. So I'll turn it over to Adam.
Hello. So the company that was chosen was ProPhoenix. That was done through a rather exhaustive but very quick RFP process. We put them against roughly 3,000 requirements, and they came out well above all the other competitors. And they were also about $200,000 less over a 5-year span than our current CAD provider could provide in that same amount of time. Our contract that is going for approval and execution with Metcom board this Friday is very favorable to the county and Metcom's interests. So we feel very strongly that we have a solution that is going to be the best fit for McLean County and its citizens. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Any questions from anybody? So what is the timeline?
For ProPhoenix, roughly 9 to 12 months. That's typical of this type of deployment. Every other vendor was in the 12-month to 16-month range. So we're actually on the quicker side of how this would lay out.
Okay. Anything else? No? Okay, thank you very much. We
Absolutely.
appreciate the updates.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
I think the work begins now, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good luck. Thank you.
Number 5 is other business communication. Our next meeting is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024 at 4:30. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add under other business? Otherwise, we are adjourned. Thank you.